Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Dojo Live. Today is Monday, October 11th, 2021, and this is the recap show where we take 10 minutes to recap last week's shows. We had 3 shows last week. Welcome to the show, guys. I want to welcome Carlos Ponce from Cuernavaca, Mexico, and Kim
Hey,
Lantis from Hermosillo, Mexico. Hi, guys.
hi, from the city of
So,
eternal spring, please.
yes, and as they say, let's get it. It is Monday. Let's get ready to rumble. All right, so we had 3 shows last week. They were as follow. We talked about commodities and technologies, bringing an antiquated industry online. That was with Jesse Solomon, who's the co-founder at Mickey. Very interesting conversation there. Then we spoke with Caleb Avery, who's the CEO and founder at Tild, about PayFac-as-a-Service, how to empower ISVs to monetize payments. And finally, what would you do what would you build if you could see everything on Earth every day? And that was with Joel Cumming, who's the CTO at Skywatch. All 3 interesting conversation. We all have our favorites, so let's go down the path to figure out what you guys thought. Which one of these resonated the most with you?
Wow,
Sure.
it's kind of hard. Okay, go ahead, Kim, please. I interrupt, but now you let you be the interrupter. So go ahead, please.
I blame the slight delay. We're not intentionally rude to one another. No, for
Yeah,
me, I think we talked about this on the final show last week. Last week's show, all the series of last week's shows were kind of interesting because there was this common thread of updating, right? Of bringing this old into the new. And I thought that was just this serendipity kind of cool coincidence. And for me, I think obviously the tech is always impressive. But I actually found the people behind the tech more impressive last week. I thought there was a lot of words of wisdom and sort of rules to live by. For example, Caleb Avery, the CEO of Tilt, we asked him, what was your word of wisdom? And I think at the end he was talking about, as the CEO, one of the questions he's continuously asking himself is, how am I being a blocker? And how he's consciously freeing himself up to get out of people's way, this willingness to find people, this understanding that I don't have to be an expert on everything. I can't be an expert on everything, but I can pick and work with people who are. And so I thought that was just very exciting, particularly for a relatively young CEO. I thought that was really inspiring. I liked what Jesse Solomon did at Mickey. When they first started out the business adventure, they thought that they were going to do some sort of Alibaba, thing, this, just selling finished goods, and they wound up in the commodities industry. And his story is kind of funny, like suddenly we've got logs on our website and we're like, you sell logs? And I guess we do now. And so they get into this entire new path, but it turns out that this is a really exciting and promising path for them. So I think just this being open to what's out there, recognizing an opportunity when it lands in front of you. I just was really inspired by the people there. Joel, also his story on a completely different path, his first time, working with the industry of monitoring and satellites and everything. And so the people for me last week, I think, were just as, if not more, inspiring than the tech itself.
Yeah, I'd have to
yeah,
agree. It's hard to pick a favorite because they're all great conversation and stand in their own right. One thing that stood out the most for me was with Jesse Solomon, who's the co-founder at Mickey. He's an ex-entertainer who literally just did a 180-degree turn in his career and battled cancer twice and won twice. So it's just goes to show that if you're doing something that you're good at, but perhaps it's just not feeding you anymore, maybe it's time for change. And it's never too late to change industries. And by doing so, they had a vision of what they wanted to do, but the problem found them, he and his co-founder. So sometimes you have to be open to this idea when you're building a startup that you've got this whole thing planned out, but the problem ends up finding you, and you got to pivot to do something great. So, great story about doing that. Carlos, what are your thoughts?
Well, I agree with it. It's hard for me to pick a personal favorite because all three shows were great, but I couldn't help but be particularly allured by the one with Skywatch. And this is because I personally have this strange fascination with watching
people. No, I'm kidding.
with stalking people. No, with traveling virtually across geographies. Actually, I watched a German movie the other day that talked about that, and it's just a very interesting story on how it was supposed to be based in real life. Like there was this company called TerraVision, supposedly inspired Google Earth, and the whole story was around the idea. And when we were having the conversation with Joe, when I asked him about, kind of jokingly, how do you access the satellites, and he made it look like an esoteric kind of thing, but it's really not. And we all realize that it's all there within our reach, but it can be intriguing, especially for those who are not very well acquainted. I was at the beginning, like, with how do you do these things without feeling surveilled initially? And of course, Joel very clearly made it known to us that we have really nothing to worry about. But still, this is a fascinating technology, and I don't know. It's just something that the one that definitely grabbed my attention more than the rest of them because of my personal association and fondness of these topics, virtual travel and the like. So that's what I think.
Yeah, I think with Skywatch, what's interesting there too isn't just the ability to see what's happening, but the ability to analyze
to interact, yeah, and gather data and all that,
decisions. Yeah. And I really appreciated like their focus to me. I mean, yes, money makes the world go round, right? At the end, everything, it's a business. You have to make money. But I like how their pivot, their spin is really humanistic, or focused on the good for people, right? So they've got like agricultural implications and weather patterns, even like I think they had mentioned that they were some of the first ones in to get some data after like major natural disasters, so that first responders and people can be more effective. And so I really appreciated a lot of that focus, rather than just how can we improve the stock market for our clients, right? So
right,
make it a business, make some money, but how can we really do good with that? I loved it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're coming up on time, guys, but let's not forget the other interview with Caleb Avery, PayFac-as-a-Service. It was very enlightening to see how software companies that are providing a platform for businesses that charge other businesses with credit cards or even consumers can create a diversified revenue opportunity for themselves by essentially providing the payment facilitation capacities that you would otherwise outsource to like a Stripe or something else like that. So these guys have created a model where if you're a software company, you can embed within your platform the ability to do payment processing, and your end customers will serve their end customers. This is predominantly probably B2B to C type of businesses, but it's just millions of dollars in terms of transactions that software companies could capture. So it was an interesting understanding of how to monetize payments. All right, we're up on time. What do we got coming up this week, Carlo?
2 interviews tomorrow. We'll be speaking with Daniel Curran, the founder and CEO of CustEX or Custex.com. And the topic is improving products and services for everyone. Then on Wednesday, we have Brent Oster, the president and CEO of Orbuy AGI, with artificial intelligence and dreaming. Ooh, that's what we have this week in Dojo Live. We don't have a show on Thursday. We have our all hands. So just
but if you
Tuesday
want there to be one, oh yeah, that's
there'll
right.
be a rebroadcast.
I was going to say, join us, volunteer yourself, but
exactly.
Hands.
See you back tomorrow.